Welcome everyone, I'm Tammie Pike and I'm from Earth Radiance, and today Samantha, Moir, hey Sam.
Hey!
We're starting Empowered Women's Chat, where we will be discussing everything that we've learned as coaches in our life journey as well, on how to empower women and the topics that usually aren't discussed, and we're going to get these and go straight into depth. Sam, did you want to add any more?
Not just yet, because I think I'm gearing up. Let's do this empowered women conversation.
Yeah, so today what we're discussing about our past and how we can let our past affect our now and our future by holding on to our story and what's happened to us. And so again, it's going to be sharing our story and how we're overcoming that and being able to be in the present, enjoying our lives as it is and through the person we are today. So for me, I guess the theme came up when in my family with my parents that had a lot of issues go on again, like it did back when I was a child. And it sort of brought up all the memories of what happened when I was a child and, you know, everything I've done to try and release that person and that damage and those emotions that came with what happened to me. And, you know, it came from, you know, abuse and it sort of felt like the emotional and emotional neglect as well, not feeling loved and safe and secure. And this dredged up a whole lot of things within my life and in my family. And it's been quite interesting because once upon a time, I would have got caught in that drama. I would have got caught up in all those old negative emotions. And it feels like now I'm in this place where I've let go. I'm not now connected to those emotions that rule me. I've created my own being. I am my own self. And that is just a part of who I was. And yes, it's been my story and it's helped me to get where I am today, but I no longer hold on to that emotional connection that will, you know, stop me from enjoying where I am right now. And I don't feel a victim anymore. And it's an most empowering place to be. So today, that's why I wanted to share about that. And the reason for me to get, or how I got to where I was, is a lot of spiritual development and a lot of connecting back to self and finding a way to be whole in who I am. And for me, that was coaching, growing my self-love, finding who I was. And because I thought I knew, but I became a mum, I became a wife, you know, all these things became more important than who I was. So when I came to feel who I really was, it was my story, it was my relationships. I still didn't know who I was. So it was being able to really step back and go, what brings me joy? What enables me to live my life to the fullest in a way that feels good to me? And there's many different ways that have enabled me to do that. But I'll stop talking, let Sam share her story as well. So that's just
Oh, sorry, hon. I actually have a question about that, like with you, if you don't mind. I find that extremely interesting because this is the thing about those past emotions and triggers that even as adults, even when we're parents and we have other people that we look after, it's funny how when we get back into those dynamics, how quickly we can be triggered as if we're a child again. And just really go back into that headspace of, like, I'm a parent and I've seen myself go into that childlike state if say my parents were annoyed at me, not that it was ever from that extent of abusive, but I would find myself stepping back into that old behaviours of what our dynamic was as children, and really being able to let go of that is really quite hard. Like, you've got that, isn't it, those two paths? It's like past, present and future kind of smack banging into each other, going, okay, well, future, I'm a parent, I don't want this, but past, this is how I act. Who am I going to choose to be? Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I love having these conversations with you, is because you're so strong in yourself. Like, you're so aware of when you're being triggered. And I think there's no way of actually being able to make change until you can go, hang on, I don't actually feel like that anymore, or I'm not actually that powerless anymore, or I'm not really actually underneath that kind of, you know, controlling behavior. I can't be dictated. I'm a fully fledged adult. I can say yes, or I can say no. And it's and once you know how you're being triggered like that, it's like, oh, I'm not 6. Like I don't have to just go along with the flow. If I don't like it, I can hop in my car and drive home. And it's so freeing like that. And I think that's why when you were just saying about your story then, I'm like, isn't that amazing how quickly it can change in an instant when it has a lot of build up, definitely. Like there's a lot of self growth and a lot of self awareness, and you have to be able to know you. But in that, to our parents or to those old behaviors, whether it's relationships or families or anything, it's like it happens so quickly and the ripple effect happens instantly. So we might spend 5 years working on ourselves and we have that catalyst moment where somebody goes, no, or you should be doing this. And then you step back and go, actually, that's not appropriate, or that's not acceptable, or I'm not tolerating that anymore. And they literally change in an instant. And it shows how much choice we have in going forward and how much we're just reliving the past emotions and just repeating old cycles because, and I'm kind of going a little bit off topic, but people will treat you how you allow them to treat you. So if you keep feeding into those old dynamics, it will play out just as you know. So I find that really amazing because like you were saying, you know, you've just got to that point where it's like, this isn't me anymore. Like I am not part of this. I'm not drained by this anymore. I'm not emotionally connected to the past, bringing it into my future and stuff. It's just so enlightening. Hey, I really love having those conversations with people because they know themselves. They know when they're being triggered. They know it's like, is this adult me or is this child me answering? Is this my fear of approval or disapproval or respect, or do I feel endangered for, you know, if it's like from an abusive side of things from your childhood? Do I actually feel that now though? Or did I used to feel that and I keep reacting like in that headspace? And it's all in that choice, isn't it? It's all in that choice of being like, I choose what happens to me now. Like I am not powerless anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, because that's what I was going to say. And everything I've done has come down from a choice. You can choose to still be the victim of your circumstances. And I'm not putting anyone's traumatic experience down, but there's a point in your life where you can either live and accept and acknowledge and work through those emotions and bring them up and, you know, work with in whatever way you need, whether it's counseling, energy healing, whatever way works for you, because we're all unique and we all respond differently to different therapies. And for me, it was all about a choice. Because honestly, when I got with my husband, like we've been together 16 years, and it has been phenomenal in how the habits and the subconscious learnings that I had from a child was playing a massive part in how I was with my partner. And my go-to was fighting, was bringing up arguments and creating, like we could be happy for a little bit, but then it always had to end in an argument because that's the way I was taught. That's the way it is. That's just life.
Oh, I'm hearing you, girl.
and it took a while for me to understand there's a different way of being, and that I was actually causing this because of a habit. And I made the choice to stop that. But the thing is, it's a continual, never stopping kind of thing, because the way that you're trained, for me, like I was thinking, talking to my husband about it last night, is that we have this subconscious core in ourselves, okay? And I'm going to try and put it in the most layman terms I can, is that think of it as a beautiful apple, okay? It looks gorgeous on the outside and it has many layers within, okay? And but in the core, it can either be fully okay or it could be damaged. But you never know, you know, you can't tell from its cover, and it's only until you cut it open that you can see that. But what happens is that core is going to affect the apple as a whole anyway, because that's its center energy point. So for me, it was trying to explain to my husband that I am constantly making that effort to strive to be the person I am today, and not to let that subconscious damage that is rooted in me to bring, to start creating more of effect in my whole being, my spiritual being, because no matter what, that core is always going to have that hurt and that damage that, I'm peeling away layers, but it's that constant gradual growth. And I've got to grow that self-worth and self-care for myself. No one else can do it, because my husband, he had an amazing idyllic childhood. that our children are having today. And they've got that inner knowing, that inner strength, and that confidence in who they are. And people who have that inner damage, you have to work to grow that and to heal that damage within inside your core, because if you don't, you can do all the materialistic surface level stuff you can, but it's got to be deep healing work to really get down. And it's a choice and a way of being and a conscious living, and making those decisions, whether it's meditation, yoga, self-care, always thinking about yourself in the first person, and doing what you can to grow self-love, because that's been thrown around a lot, but self-love is really the only place you can start. And that's what goes down deep into that core to start healing. And it's a choice. It is really a choice.
Definitely. I mean, I think anything that makes you react outside of yourself is something that you personally have to work on. Like I relate to that so much in that reactiveness. I think, and that's not, and like you said as well, that's not to downplay people's trauma. And I think we've all had traumatic events in our life, and it doesn't matter to what scale. If it's traumatic to us, it's something that changes that core of that apple, like you're saying. But I also think that, and yeah, I don't want to downplay that level of trauma that people have. But when you get to a point where you are reacting to something that's like over the top in you now, and it's because of something, it's like, okay, but how many times have you reacted to that over and over and over in your childhood, and being reaffirmed these confirmations of this bad negative behavior? Mm-hmm. So it's like, from my kind of story on my side, if I was to use, I've openly expressed it on my page about my recent separation, right? But the things that I'm learning in the last 3 weeks that have related to that relationship actually have had a core issue to my childhood, and about me repeating, about my choices in partners, about how I've reacted, how I've responded. So where that learning for me and we were the same. Me and him have been emotionally connected and been on and off, for 15 years, back and forward, right? A bit more tumultuous, but a lot of that, he actually has a lot of similarities to the issues that I had with my dad. So I know that sounds a bit like weird, but it's like I was actually going in a reverse circle, right? Like, not to get too deep, but when I was younger, I never felt like my dad really had connected to me fully. Like at that time, really emotionally, in that innate instinct. Like, I think he did what he did, and he was going through his stuff or whatever. But I think he never truly connected. So I went for a partner who, little to my knowledge, my choice, chose and seek somebody out, and then we would be arguing because he wouldn't choose me, or he wouldn't. So I was going for someone who wouldn't connect to me, and then I was putting on the elements of like, choose me, protect me, and I was going in this spiral circle, and I was going, I'm in the center of this circle though. Like I'm seeking out these people because of past issues that I'm not healing and not confronting and not dealing with. So it then transpires again and again and again. And anything that I feel like I'm overly reactive to, and that was one of them. It was like, I want to be strong and independent in my relationship, but when push comes to shove, I want you to jump up and down and choose me and be connected to me and do everything in your power for me. But I've seeked somebody out who I know isn't going to do that. And it's like this, I know that sounds like a bit, does that make sense? Yeah. But it's like I was constantly seeking out these people to fill voids or to challenge negative beliefs, and they would be reconfirmed all the time, and they would hit me harder because I'd like, see, they're all like that. Everyone's like that, but it was my choices in why I was doing that. And there's no way for me to recognize that unless I take that responsibility back and go, yeah, look, I know how the past plays out. I was there, but I'm not having my future have these replicated anymore. I have to choose or be more selective or be more aware or understand what my weaknesses are and why I'm doing things in that, point of view, to be able to repeat those old comfort or even toxic relationships, but it's comfort still. So it's crazy. And that's really what I've been working on the last, 3 or 4 weeks, is just being like, okay, So my choice was this person, and this person directly reflects, you know, my relationship with my dad. And then I'm devastated that it plays out exactly the same. And that's all within my choices. I'm big enough and ugly enough to be able to say, yo, that's on me. Like, that's on me. Like, that is how that played out. And I think I've got a little bit off topic, but that level of ownership and that level of being able to go, okay, well, I've made bad choices, but I choose to make better ones. And I'm going to have to really dig deep in that level of reaction and going, if this is resisting me so hard that it's bringing up an emotional response that's not really fitting to right now, and that's fueled by something that's happened, even if you're aware of it or not, 10, 20, 30 years ago, but you're still reacting in that, and over the top, it's like, okay, so that's a trigger point there, because in this interaction right here, it probably isn't warranted. Or like you were saying, like with your example about everything would be going well, so you're probably looking for that spike point where it is going to fall down. So want to be one up, like, you're not going to hurt me, I'm going to be the one, you know, like that, in that waiting time and actually looking for something because you don't believe that it can be good all the time. I'm kind of self-sabotage like that as well. You're aware of it, you've figured it out, and now you can be blissfully happy the whole time because you don't expect that to happen. It's just literally everything that you ever have a problem with, you have to center in the middle of it. It's so powerful in that it is powerful, that it is your power. And the more that we can take control of that power, good, bad, reactive, responsive, angry, sad, jealous, whatever, then we center back down and go, okay, well, I chose to be like that. That's not really how I should have reacted in this moment because everything is good. I shouldn't be doing that. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It does. It's a really great thing. And I think that's just some of the steps to start, you know, stopping the habits and the vicious cycle of this happening, is to look right now and to be honest. And you need to be like critically honest of where you are in your life. And the first place to be is to write down, what is it that you don't like with what happens in your life. So for me, it was like yelling at my kids. It was, you know, being triggered because they weren't listening to me. And I hated being yelled at as a kid. And it made me feel so sad and small. Yet that was my first response, was yelling. You know, it was because that was that. And so it's becoming aware of the habits of yourself that you don't like. And yes, you have external factors as well, and you're human. That fully comes into it as well. But if it's a habit or something that you don't like within inside yourself, it's actually seeing it for what it is, and then working on how can I make this better, or what is it that's triggering me, and going along, like sort of doing a timeline and go back and, you know, try and heal that by making conscious effort every time, and you know, getting rid of those self-limiting beliefs that saying you can't be happy, or that I'm not worthy of having a happy life, and, you know, all those kind of self-beliefs that stop you from being who you truly are. And I think the thing is that really gets me the most is that I come from a childhood that I had to, like, it's taken me 32 years to start speaking my truth. And the women that I'm talking and working with, it's the same kind of thing. They're working through these layers of, you know, conformity and what they're put into these boxes, and what they're trying to be is parents that are allowing their kids to speak their truth, who they are right now. And sometimes for me, and I'll share a little bit more, is that for me, I started getting really triggered that my kids weren't being grateful for their childhood that they have right now. I have 3 beautiful kids and they have a pretty amazing life. And I was like, how come they're not so grateful? You know, you need to be grateful for this. And when I was a kid and anyway, like this huge epiphany happened over the weekend. I've done heaps of blogging about it and stuff, but basically in essence I was putting my expectations and my experiences on them. So how can they be so aware of the amazing life they have when it's their normal? That their level of their life is their normal. For me, you know, it's up here. I'm like, how, you know, you've got to be this.
I had the same thing.
And I was putting all this expectations on them to be like so thankful, or mum, you're the most amazing mum, you've done so much work to get where you are today. They're only kids, but it's just this, you know, it's like that inner child of mine was being jealous and sad and not heard, you know, and all this kind of thing, because my kids are having the life they're having and not being thankful for it, but they love it, you know. And my husband is really great, because I was talking to him and he said, you know, he wasn't really grateful for his childhood until he, you know, teenagers and adult years, and then he was able to look back and go, wow, that was amazing. So for me to really understand that has allowed me to let go of expectations on myself and on them, and letting me enjoy the life that we have right now. So see how the past was holding on to me enjoying my future fully, because I was still referring back, you know, to my past, how it was, how my life was, and instead of going, I've created this life for me and for my kids, and just enjoying it as it is.
Yep. And I love that. Even in that example, like I have been in that spot. Like I've been in that getting so angry at my children for being, you know, like, look at everything that you have and everything that you receive and all the love that's around you and the support and you know, and then I was the same. I had to turn that around and go, how lucky are they that they don't know? You know, like, how lucky are they that this is something that they will thank me for later? But I don't want, in an ideal world, what I'm really saying in that is, would I really question giving them some really shitty hard times in order to have the spectrum? I'm like, no, they can just agree with that later. But I understand, because it gives you that level. Well, it did for me a little bit, embarrassingly to say, but it can have that level of resentment if in that comparison shot. And I know that I was able to jump on that pretty quickly, but you can see it sometimes in that, in those dynamics. It's like you were saying earlier about that yelling and not being heard. So you yell at your children when you're not being heard, but it actually flares up old behaviours from your own childhood. So it automatically triggers you to start yelling because you don't want to go back into those. I've had many situations where I've been... my eldest son, I think with everyone, they have one child that challenges them with their similarity and one that challenges them with their difference, right? My eldest son is so similar to me, and we can be like close as anything, just two peas in a pod. We're cut from the same cloth. We're exactly the same. But when we clash, it is like facing everything about me, and he has made me confront those past issues because of how he either deals with things or the level that I have actually paved the way for him not to experience things like that. So it can be really quite confronting in my child is my teacher, being like, this is how it can play out. And there's so many parents, I think, out there that go, well, you don't have, well, I didn't have, so you shouldn't have. And then they have guilt that they're not providing, and then it works in all these, I don't want them to feel like I used to feel, but I don't want them, it blows my mind. And I think parenting like that is completely I mean, that's not to say people that don't have kids don't have their life lessons, but I think having children, it slams you into, okay, I need to full transparency here. So everything that I'm hiding from the past, or I'm quashing, or I'm trying to get away from, it's those I know for me personally, my babies have just been like, everything you're hiding is coming straight back up, and it's coming to the surface. Anything you were trying to run from, you know, get away from, you know, aggressively push away, is everything that those children are to make you learn. And it's like, and I think that's how, if you're able, I think that comes from that sense of strength. And like you were saying about actually being able to criticize and be able to, I've done a post about this for tomorrow on my page about confident and self-conscious. And being confident is like being able to speak proudly about your strengths and weaknesses. And it goes along those lines, like, and both in equal value. Being able to go, look, I'm actually really bad at that, but not making it something, an embarrassment. It goes like that with your past and your future and your past and present, I guess. Mm-hmm. Because it's like when you can talk about something and it doesn't have embarrassment or sting, it's just a memory then. It is not emotionally where you feel shameful or you feel embarrassed, because it's just a memory now. Mm-hmm. It's just something that happened. Whereas when we are avoiding even having those conversations about our past, it's because we are still snapshotted into that memory. I mean, when people lose people or everything, it's still going to be that emotional of how that was feeling or it reminds you. But if you can have a memory and be put in a bad mood, like there's 10, 20 years difference, like you're not in that memory anymore. So it's like come forward and get back into the present. And it's being able to talk about them proudly, being like, oh, I messed up. Like I messed up big time. Like I was such an idiot for doing that. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't be like, oh, I can't even tell you. Like, I don't want anyone to know. Like, this is really embarrassing, because I'm not embarrassed about it. It's already happened. Like, whatever. And it's
sorry,
you go.
It's letting go of that emotional attachment to that and letting it hold on to you, because it is you holding on to it, but it's you're empowering your past to affect your future right now. And one of the sayings that I really love is, what can I do about this right now? So say, a bad memory comes up or something, and it's triggered you, and what can I do about that right now? You can't change the past. No. What can you do right now? You can change your future. You can change the present right now. So do you choose to be triggered and taken back to the past and stay there? Or do you choose to be, well, look at the life I'm living right now. I'm breathing. I'm looking after myself. I'm creative. What is it, the good things? Find the gratitudes you're in right now to ground you in the present moment. And I think it's really good things that are tangible that you can do that will really help you disconnect that emotional disempowerment that you have, because that's what I felt. I felt emotional disempowered because of things that happened to me, and I was letting that rule my life and my relationships, and it was so negative. I wasn't living life for me, and I was not enjoying it, because I was always thinking, it's always like that flashback every time something happened, flashback to when I was a child, that childhood phase, and it's really crazy in how much we do let that take on. And just for instance, this is a really great thing that we do in Koya. We do shaking, okay? But the story about it that I really love is there's a gazelle running, something, one of those four-legged things, is running through the desert, and anyway, a lion comes up and nearly gets her, but she gets away. So that gazelle could stay in fear and worry that she just nearly died, and then she'd go to therapy and just keep rehashing that she nearly died, and how could that happen, and why did he do this, and all that kind of stuff. But she doesn't. She goes over there and she shakes it off. She lets it go, and then she just lives her life again. Because if she stayed in that fear all the time of what could have happened or what did happen to her, how does she live life then? Yeah,
fully. I totally. I've done a video about this actually in one of my groups, and it's like, how long's our childhood really for? Like you would say, maybe even if we said like in those real informative years, 6, 10, and before we really kind of are stepping on our way and figuring it out for ourselves. So it's like for those first 5, 10, 15 years, everything that happens, so you've got a 15-year block, but you live till you're 90. And you are replicating that same 15-year block, you might as well never get out of bed, because it's like you were literally responding to something that happened all those years ago, and you're just replicating the same behaviors. Because if you really take that step back and look at how the past affects your present, you will probably find, if you were to put a character person in every one of those memories for 15 years, you probably in those next 15-year blocks have got those same relationships somewhere else. So it's like the dad and the partner, it's like the mum and the best friend, and those same relationships repeat over and over. And it's like, that literally means that in your life, of everything you can experience, it's this big, because you're not going outside of that going, okay, well, that happened. And like you said, like with the lion and everything, that kind of paves a way. That's actually a good conversation point the next week, is about how it actually works in with fear. Because we can probably talk about that next week, but it's like the fear and everything and all the bad emotions. I find the headspace of that about how people manifest as well, how manifesting actually works a lot more negatively when people allow it to, because it's like, oh, that person treated me badly, so I got up and got angry, and then this happened, and then they go into their next kind of block in life, and then the same situation plays out, and they carry on exactly the same way as what they did, and it just repeats itself over and over and over. And it's like, if you really sat down and looked at your present, how many times have you had the same or very similar situation happen over and over? And that has been the choice that you've made in keep reacting the same way to everything. And it's like, if you hold on to, well, this is the only way that it plays out, it's like doing an acting Groundhog Day or Groundhog Year all the time. They be rude, I get angry, we yell, we don't talk, we go away, we sit on resentment and anger for a little bit, we reconnect, and 5 minutes later we're fighting again, and over and over and over and over. And it's like, okay, well, there's two people in that, and if they're not going to change, it comes down to you, and actually take the power back to say, I have every choice in the world here to not respond or how to react, right?
Yeah, totally. And and if you're unsure of where to start, to look at your environment and see the people. Like, it can be down to the food, the supplements, the people, the TV, the social media that you allow in your life. Even like the best thing they say nowadays, because we're in such a technical age, is look at your Facebook page and see, is there drama? Is there, negative news feeds? What is on there? Because I found, like, when I started, working through my things, I let go of all the drama. I unfriended people who on my Facebook page and in my life, because they weren't nourishing me and the environment that I needed to heal and be the person who I am. And if for whatever reason that environment's toxic, look at yourself and see why you're drawing that into yourself as well. And it's a really good, like it is being that not criticizing, I don't want to say criticizing, I want to say critical. Be critical of why that's there, and really owning that and being responsible. Because when we see, like, that's just going to be your answer right there. What is around you? What are you living with? Who are you allowing in your life? And if they're nasty or drama filled, or you're doing everything for them, why? And then you can work backwards from that as well. And working with people such as coaches and people who are aware of helping you move forward in a positive way. Because for me, counselling didn't work so much, because I didn't want to be going back to my past and working through it. I was in a state where I wanted to work forward, and I needed someone backing me up. I needed someone supporting me and helping me find my own goals from within me to be able to move forward, because I've never had that in my life. And the first coaching call I had, which was 3 years ago, when I was in a complete mess, anxiety, depression, so much crap going on. That coaching call set a chain reaction and to completely change my life for the better. And I'm not saying coaching is to replace trauma, counselling or anything like that. But if you're in a place where in your life where you're wanting to actually step forward, someone like Sam or myself, have the capabilities to help draw the answers that you already know inside yourself, and to help you see from a third person point of view what is actually going on and how you can improve this to where you want to be. It's all about what you're wanting to live and who you want to be and how you can do that, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah, totally. I think the thing that I love about coaching as well, and especially because it's like, even just talking in 10, 15 minutes, we've already had experiences that a lot of people can relate. Like, I think a lot of coaches are the ones that have had really shitty lives, because they're the ones that can relate to everything. And I think, like you said, with the counselling, I've had that too, where it just rehashed everything. And I was getting snapped back into that emotion. I would leave and be like, oh, I feel really heavy. I feel really down. I feel like I want to have a cry, but there was nothing really that moved forward. And again, like, I will reiterate the fact, as you have as well, about it doesn't replace any medical treatments. It doesn't replace any coaching is not a substitute for other things. And it's also about saying, I am not going to fix that for you. I am a coach to coach you to fix that for you. I've got your back. I'm standing next to you. I'm standing around you. I'm here to talk. I'm here to listen. But ultimately, for me to be a successful coach is for you to do this for yourself. And you just have the support in doing it, because, and again, feeding back into that. I mean, there's so many different patterns in people. I can't do it. We'll reach out for help. They don't take that. I have a huge, everyone knows I've got a huge thing about own it, own everything, own everything. Yeah, I'm going to get that as a shirt. Hashtag own Yeah. And that's where the coaching comes in, because it's even whether it's business, whether it's personal, whether it's relationships. However, it's not about outsourcing somebody to just say, here's the magic pill, you're sweet, like this is what you do, and when you get low on those pills, come back, because this is going, I'm going to give you the techniques, and I understand you, I understand the emotion, but I have very little excuse value because you're still using other people. We're talking about you here right now and what we're going to do going forward. I don't want to rehash the old shit. I want to talk about what you want to be, and we can put this shit to bed. Like, this is done. This is just part of your story that you can, because you think about how many people recount stories as well, like as a coach, right? And they start crying, or they start getting angry, or they start getting a bit uncomfortable. And it's like, you're not going back there. We're not going back there. This coaching is about going forward. So explain that to me, and sure, feel the emotion. Like, I'm not going to be like, don't cry. But it's like, we're not there anymore. And in order for this not to happen anymore, where you still feel that if I press that button, life is going to fall apart. And even with business coaching as well, it's like, taking business, I mean, this is probably more your area, especially in that heart-driven, following your soul passion. And I get a lot, even from your Facebook pages and things like that, about really being able to dig deep into the soul when it comes to business, and how they correlate so well together, and from a community sense. That it's like having somebody that's just going, I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I'm going to tell you that you can do it, and here are strategies for you to be able to make this work, but I'm not going to sit there and do all your Facebook posts for you.
That's
right. Right?
I love it, yeah. And you're just so true. It's taking the responsibility, because we do come in society where it's all about blaming someone else and passing the buck, so to speak. And, that's disempowering for you. And if you want to live an empowered life, it's taking full responsibility for everything within your life. And that you have a choice, and it depends on what that choice is to how things change within your life. So, Sam, we might wrap it up. Do you have anything else that you wish to say?
Not that my head's flowing with topics for next week. I guess for everyone who's watching, if there is a topic that you maybe want us to cover, or want to know our experience or our viewpoints, or our opinions, or even how we deal with that on an everyday, because I'm sure between Tammie and I that one of us have covered it somewhere in our lifetime and have had the battle to kind of get over it and move forward with it and things like that. I might just do a shameless plug, if that's okay.
That's what this is about. Yeah.
If anyone wants to contact me or want to know a little bit more about what I do, you can find me at facebook.com/Samantha Moir Warrior Women. But I'm hoping that me and Tammie can make time to do this as frequently as we can, just to kind of open this space up and that understanding. So thanks for having me today, Tammie.
Thanks for joining us. And so, yes, I'm Tammie Pike from Earth Radiance, and you can find me on Facebook, or just www.earthradiance.com.au, where you can find out everything I do. And if you want to book in the session or whatever, contact me and just have a chat. You're more than welcome to. So we are really excited to be doing this together. We could probably talk all day, which we usually do. So we have to try and condense it down. So we will be hopefully having these weekly. We'll just see how the schedules run and flow. But yeah, look forward to seeing what you beautiful women have to come and share with. So we hope you have an amazing day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.